2021 edition of the Pop Shock podcast. The clue's in the name. On this episode, we are going to discuss the best and worst things that we've seen, played, read in 2021, in the last year. 2021 was a bit of an odd year because we were still pretty pandemic up for a lot of it. Movies that were coming out get pushed, and some movies that were meant to come out in March came out in October, and it was a bit weird in all the other place. But there was some stuff we've seen that was pretty good, and some stuff we've seen that was utter shit, and we feel like it's worth talking about. So today I am joined by the phenomenal lineup of Massimo Castelli, COVID-free Massimo Castelli.
COVID-free, still got the cough, but COVID-free, enjoy life. Still dying, but it's fine, don't worry about it.
Still dying.
The fresh haircut helps, I must admit,
Exactly,
that helps.
That's
We are joined by a cameraless Chrissy because his camera looked like...
I'm cheap. I'm cheap, boys.
You look like you kind of look like Picasso down the corner earlier, so
I know.
That'd freak people out. So
that's just me.
People still are coming in watching us, like, oh, what's going on?
I'll relax you with my soothing voice.
Well,
my face today.
So speaking of relaxing soothing voices, we're also joined by Jerd Noise,
the beautiful Irishman.
Hello. my Glaswegian buddy.
Jerd, you have a handsome voice. I don't know if I ever described the voice as handsome, but yours is handsome.
I work in customer service and I actually get that. I've never gotten it more in my life. Oh, I love your accent. Well, I deal with people in the UK, so it's I love your accent.
Oh, right, aye.
And along for the ride is Courtney, again, from last week.
if these off episodes follow some sort of chronology,
the beautiful, the handsome, you know.
Actually,
I've got Courtney.
You're all getting yourself into trouble, Dad.
You know, as it is.
Mrs. Casino Royale herself. Courtney We had a poker night last night.
Okay,
with two people that play poker kind of a lot, semi-professionally and that, and she won the whole game.
Oh, well done.
Mental.
Don't ask me how I did that.
She had.
Don't think I could do it again.
See the last 4 hands, she had nothing, and she took everybody's money. It was cool. It was like Molly's game.
Was it real money? Playing with real money?
No. Oh my God.
No.
Well, it should have been, right?
It should have been. If you won, it should have been, man. Oh, man. God. Well, look at yous.
Let's kick this off. We'll start on a high, shall we? Let's start with the best films that you've seen. What was your favourite time in the cinema of the last year? I mean, I think we're going to have a similar answer, but
yeah.
I'll say it. Spider-Man: No Way Home, right?
Yeah.
Did anyone have there was better movies that came out in the last year? I think that we might want to talk about, but did anyone have a better experience just going to the cinema and sitting down and beaming your face off this year in the cinema? Because I didn't.
Sadly, I've not seen it, so I've not been sitting in the cinema.
You've not seen it, Chris?
I've not seen it.
Get out.
No, it's
Chris, I've seen it 3 times.
It's no something against it. I really want to see it, but I don't know. I've just not had the time.
His box now disappears from the
Make
podcast.
time, Christopher. Make time.
Well, you can check out our Spider-Man No Way Home exclusive podcast on the Pop Shock, Spotify's, YouTube's, and other sort of things. That's the name of the podcast.
Because you've not seen the film, so it'll spoil everything.
Yes, please.
Exactly.
Please do. Do not feel
that is a question before we go any further, Chrissy. Do you know what happens? Are you?
Oh yeah. I've totally been spoiled. I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what happens.
So we can be open here, right? Okay.
Oh yeah. Free and fire.
Because I mean, everybody else in the world has seen it except you. So.
Except me.
Yeah, you're the last person who hasn't seen it.
I bet even though, see when
like
I go to see it, the cinema will be full though. I bet
It's like it's like a Twilight Zone episode. This is the only one I have.
The man that time forgot.
Another time.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean that moment. Again, as Massimo said, go watch the episode that we really went in depth. But just certain moments of that film, I didn't have a bigger grin on my face than I did, when the portals opened and the end with the 3 of them. And
Yeah.
So is it just this is like some conspiracy theory then? Is it set up for Toby's coming back, Andrew's coming back to do another couple of films? Is it that kind of thing? Or is it completely just a nice goodbye kind of thing?
There's heavy rumors that Garfield might come back, and he has said he's open to it.
Yeah.
But I can't see Toby doing it. But apparently Toby's been cast in. Fucking can't remember the director, but it's a film with like Brad Pitt, Sandra Bullock.
Yeah,
I know what you're on about. Yeah.
That's right.
I can't remember. Someone mentioned it. It's like, and there's like another 2 or 3 really big names in it. So like he hasn't done anything since I think like what Boss Baby 2 or something.
Yeah, that was his last movie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Him doing the promotional stuff for Boss Baby is the funniest thing. He's
like
life just drained behind his eyes. He's like a boss baby. It's just the life draining behind his eyes is fantastic for
the latest rumor I heard was that Andrew Garfield may be joining Tom Hardy's Venom.
I just don't. I don't like that though because
those films sucked. We'll get to that. We will get to Venom too.
So I think we talked about it. That was the amount of money the film has made. Sony would be stupid not to look into it because people understand there could be multiple Spider-Man and stuff like Into the Spider-Verse could have solved that because I think that's always companies' issue. It's like, if there's a Spider-Man, people will get confused. It's like no one was ever going to get confused if there's multiple Spider-Man, but studios think that people are stupider than that.
But studios do that a lot in the sense that they test something in animation and then they do it in live action. You see that quite a lot.
I mean,
I think there's definitely scope for them to do more, but whether they will or whether they should.
Yeah, but to tie Andrew, like who's had previously bad films, to other bad films, like that's to bring back is as the one to interact with Morbius and Venom.
That's not how you redeem a character.
If I would be like, Jesus, like you've already made the same shit films that I was in again, and you want me to go back into that. So it's an uphill battle. Like it'd be risky for him to come back, I'd say.
The other rumour is that Tobey Maguire may make a cameo in Doctor Strange 2. It's been directed by Sam Raimi.
Yeah, I was thinking
that would make a lot of sense for him.
We didn't talk about this last week enough though, but I think whenever that podcast comes out or in that special episode,
I might not even be out yet. Let me hear this.
Yeah, very true. Look, we're our own time traveling, multiverse jumping. Everything takes place at our own.
How comics have a rolling
episode here in this episode, and
exactly. Yeah,
like a 4-hour.
Just contain it. We didn't even talk about the fact that there might be a Bruce Campbell cameo in Multiverse of Madness and what that would mean for the rest. Like, I just one of those things that you never think about. But like, I was talking to my barber about this.
Yes, you were great here on that. Like, I noticed that at the start. I didn't say, but yeah. No one complimented me on it yet.
No, I was talking about Barber about it and the fact that obviously he appears in Spider-Man 4 storyboards as Mysterio, and how it could be interesting for him to come back in Multiverse of Madness with some sort of connection to Spider-Man.
Yeah, I could see him just throwing him in as anything. Like it could be some alternate universe Tony Stark, or they could I wouldn't think they'd be too tied to having him as that character from the Raimi verse who was a waiter and was a thing, and like he would never actually became Mysterio on screen. So I could see him just giving him anything, or he could be Ash, even, like, technically, if it's has any of the horror roots that it was supposed to have at one point, because he has interacted with the Marvel Universe and the zombie comics. Yeah.
So, about all Spider-Man No Way Home, does anybody else want to throw anything else into the ring?
I was going to fling more than Miyagi, the Miyagi story documentary. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
I literally just googled. I've watched it like half an hour, and I was like, "Oh, he's not American. He's American. The actual actor." So the guy who plays Miyagi,
Mr. Miyagi. Okay.
Aye, Pat. So I was like, that was a shock for me, and then I watched the Karate
That is a deep cut, Chris. That is. So,
I was gonna say, I was like, are you talking about Mr. Miyagi? Wax on, wax off, Miyagi.
Yeah, definitely. And then I watched it the other night, so 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So it was that was a blast from the past.
I'd say my second favourite kind of film of 2021. I don't know. I think it's such a toss-up, right? Because if I was to go with like a cinema experience, something I would really enjoy going to see, I went to go see Encanto in the cinema, and I really, really enjoyed that. I didn't expect to enjoy it. I was because it's a Disney film. I've got the Odeon pass. I'll go see it because Mrs. likes Disney. I like Disney as well. But I'll go see it. Didn't really have much high expectations, and it was just such a wholesome experience. I really just had it, like, I enjoyed my time at the cinema, like, as, like, it felt as if I was like a kid again. It had that same vibe if you've seen Coco as well, that kind of thing, where it's a very much family-centric film in terms of this stuff, but it was a really fun experience. And overall, I just think it was one of those. I think if you get a chance to see it, you should go see it because it's really fun, and the songs are all very catchy. As my TikTok page has been earworming me about it for the past 6 months since seeing the film. But yeah, no, I think Encanto is one of those things that is actually a really good film, and I feel like it did fail commercially, but that's just because of the year, I think, because I feel like it would have done really well elsewhere if it was open worldwide for cinemas.
Really?
I thought it was just Disney Plus. I didn't even realize it was.
No, it was in cinema. Yeah, it fully. I think it just made back its budget, which means it's not. It's technically a commercial failure. Do you know what I mean? Like,
because they have to make the marketing.
It's like double plus a bit of the market or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's all rule of thumb.
Yeah. I would double down on that. I watch that with my niece like every day now. Like, it's like on repeat constantly.
No, it's a really fun film. Yeah, honestly,
we have a niece sleepover coming up, and that's what is on the menu for the film.
Definitely. Encanto's definitely.
I heard that there is a song in that film that for some reason they're not putting forward for an Oscar, but could rival like everything that they've done so far, like all our Frozen soundtrack.
Is it the one that's like the drip 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 stop? That one, the one that's about the. So there's a really interesting. So there's a really good. It's a kids film, of course, but it's a really good films about how like a lot of the family have their separate songs, stuff like that. So there's a song that pertains to the Middle's sister, and talks about the pressure that she has because her power that's given by because all the family have special abilities. It's like X-Men, but Colombian and on Disney. It's so her power is super strength, and her song is all about like holding up the family and the kind of the pressure.
Right.
And it's such a really weird thing as well. It's like this pressure of being the middle child and having this expectation to live up to. And people have said it's like, oh, it's such a like. I've showed this to my partner who's a middle child, or like I've watched this and it's such a relatable song. And that's probably one of the best bits of the sound. The soundtrack is phenomenal because it's written by Lin-Manuel Miranda,
genius,
who is fantastic. And another one of his films for me kind of was one of my favorites of 2021. And if you want me to say that, I could say that as well.
What? Tic Tac Boom?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was going to be mine.
Really thought it was good. I'll let Courtney you talk about that, but I thought that was also a close rival for
the
other ones as well.
I loved that. That wasn't a cinema experience for us because obviously it was on Netflix. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Rent. I come from a musical theatre background and I've done Rent, but I'm not huge on it. But no, I thought Tic Tac Boom was incredible. It was so good. They get the feel of Jonathan Larson across so well. I honest to God feel like Andrew Garfield can now do anything because they didn't know if he could sing or not before he had cast him. And they had a physiotherapist or a massage therapist or something that knew them both, and Lynn was at him and he was like, do you know if he can sing? And the guy was like, voice of an angel. The guy is a genius. You've never heard a voice like this. And then Foden was like, by the way, can you sing? And he was like, no. So he learned to sing, he learned to play piano. He just totally took on the full challenge and ran with it. And I feel like there's very few performances this year that could rival him. He was out of this world. It was so good. It was so raw. The full cast is brilliant. And they're really, really, really good. I mean, you've got people like Vanessa Hudgens from High School Musical. You've got the actor that plays Michael, who's his best friend, who done Godspell, different things like that. So it is a lot of musical theatre veterans that are all kind of bundled up in this one film. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
There's a lot of musical theatre cameos as well. Like, a lot of people in that film are like, there's so many. Like, I was looking into it, it's like, I recognise some of these faces, and then I looked it up and I'm like, oh wow. Like, I mean, the original
Rivera, so like, oh my god,
the original Phantom of the Opera is fucking in one bit as well, like, and the fucking diner. Do you know what I mean? It's like what the fuck? Like,
so good.
And is it like the Hamilton musical thing where it actually is a musical and they're just filmed it, or is it an actual film?
No, it's a film.
So it is a film.
So it's a film.
The editing and stuff really well done as well.
So
it's the second musical that Jonathan Larson wrote before he wrote
Rent.
Rent,
Because he,
and it was only done as a one night only performance. And obviously Jonathan Larson didn't get to see Rent come to fruition because he died. Just
2 days before it's opening it or something like that, or
a brain aneurysm. Which, when you watch Tick Tick Boom, you are not surprised.
No wonder he broke himself to death.
He is a very stressed out man. But yeah, so it was only supposed to be done with 3 people. With like completely stripped back set, like there was no set. It was him, a piano, and 2 other cast members who play his partner and who play his best friend. And his best friend gets diagnosed. I mean, I'm going to spoil it, but his best friend gets diagnosed with AIDS, and he's living right in the middle of the AIDS crisis, which obviously is what Rent is about. So they just kind of touch on it slightly in Tick Tick Boom, but it's about him writing his first musical, which flopped. It didn't go anywhere. And it's about his life as he kind of writes that musical. So rather than it being, the film shows it as it was supposed to be performed and amongst him writing it. So
well,
it shows kind of both.
Well, that's what the framing narrative of the story is it is the performance of Tick Tick Boom that's in the kind of the small room and all that, but then it cuts intersperses between the whole rest of the film is the story being told of how he wrote Superbia and stuff like that, interspersed with musical numbers and weird set changes. Like, to be honest, set design is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So those things you watch, you wonder how they're going to do it in a musical, and it works. They really embody how a musical on stage is, while with a fixed camera and stuff like that throughout the whole film. It's great.
Yeah, and we were watching a behind the scenes thing, and Lin-Manuel Miranda said that Jonathan Larson recorded his apartment for insurance purposes, so that's how they were able to recreate so many small details in the apartment, like the bookshelves that were bent and the couch that was all paint and all the wee things they got for this insurance.
Wow, cool. It's connected to actually him. That's pretty cool.
And his real life sister is she has a cameo in it. It's at the end where you see the audience watching the performance of Tick Tick Boom, and she's sitting watching him. And we've not watched this video together yet, but I seen a video. It was kind of like a cast party, so it had all the cast and Lin-Manuel Miranda all like talking, and they got really emotional when they were talking about that. And Andrew Garfield said that there was so much pressure on him, and then she came up to him after they wrapped that scene, and she was just like, thank you so much for showing my brother and the way that he was, like, so authentically. So it's really nice. It's sad, but it is really, really good. It's a brilliant movie. So nice.
Yeah. I just seen a clip of like one of the songs on Instagram yesterday, but like it I'm not really I don't have much experience in musical theatre. I've seen like Book of Mormon, maybe Lazarus, the David Bowie show, which is a musical, I guess. But yeah, so musical theatre to me is a bit odd. It's like it's not something I'm used to. I do have.
Me neither. Like I hate musicals, and I just enjoyed this as a movie for the editing and the acting and how shit hot Andrew Garfield is. I was like, oh, that guy's so talented. He's Spider-Man. He done this when he was lying about Spider-Man. He was in every interview for that film going, I'm not in it. Like, and he was still doing this amazing performance at the same time. It's like, mate, you had some year.
What actor?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Bradley Whitford was also in the film playing Stephen Sondheim, so it's quite a nice capper for Stephen Sondheim died this year. So this was technically the last thing he did. He was a producer on this.
His voice, there's a
is that voice his
voice message
left,
and it's a real voice message.
I figured it was because I couldn't tell, because obviously it's the guy who plays the dad in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Jake's dad, who is Stephen Sondheim in the film.
Right, so I know him from Handmaid's Tale.
And the West Wing and
the West Wing.
Get Out
He's a Gout as well. Yeah,
he's brilliant. He's so likable in this film.
Yeah, like that's like I really like Bradley Whitford, and I kind of like watch a lot of his stuff. And see when he came into this film, I didn't recognise him. See the way he was like holding himself, and it was only when he spoke that I was like, holy shit! Like honestly, it could have been empty. Like it felt like, I don't know, he was so in the character, and it was so unlike himself. It was really like chameleon-esque. It was cool. Right, so yeah, there was a few I wanted to shout out just because I enjoyed them. Technically, just Judas and the Black Messiah was this year.
I've not seen it.
Counted in last year's Oscars. That was phenomenal.
That was a good one.
There's the one about
West Side Story. That was so.
You were quite surprised at how much
I
you
was
that, right?
really apprehensive about the remake of West Side Story because I've watched it since I was a child, and I feel like something's not broke, don't fix it. Like, just leave it alone. And I give Ansel Elgort a really bad rap because I didn't like him in Faulkner Stars because I really liked the book and I didn't like the film. But when I seen he was playing Tony, I was like, is he a Tony? Because as a wee girl, like, Tony is your first crush on someone on the TV, I think, in my opinion. And I was like, is he that guy? And 100% he is. That
Oh, he's
was
Tony.
such a good rendition of that movie. I feel like,
Mate, it's just Romeo and Juliet. Do something original. Know what
but
I mean? Shakespeare.
Get down to earth,
everything
Danny.
that's
There
on
you go.
Shakespeare,
You've seen that, mate?
everything that's on Shakespeare, Lion King, Sons of Anarchy, it's all just Shakespeare.
Look, Lion King is King Lear, but with lions, right? Listen, it's fine. Don't
Hamlet.
worry. It's Hamlet. It's Hamlet. Fuck it, it's Hamlet.
Oh, it's
So
Baby
Sons
Driver.
of Anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to talk about Bond? How did you feel about No Time to Die?
I've not seen it.
Oh, really?
I thought it was great.
Oh, I thought like the ending of it when they had a. Well, I don't want to spoil
no,
it.
I fully accepted spoilers at this point. I don't honestly. I don't mind.
You don't have to go
It's-
into
yeah.
spoilers.
Like, this is my
It's-
fault.
Yeah, it's honestly like I had plenty of time to go see it. I live next to a cinema. I just didn't bother to go see it. Literally,
You had no time to watch. No time.
I had no time to
There's
There's
no
just
time
no
to die.
time to die.
Hey,
Time.
is that how they said it? Rami Malek going,
Oh no, I have no time to
time to die.
Rami Malek was so underused. That he was my main issue with that film. That's what stops this from being a great
Wait,
film.
so he was good. He was good in this film.
He was fine. He wasn't in
He
it
was
that
good,
much.
but he was
He could've
typical
done
Rami
far more
Malek, and he
with
was
him.
typical Bond villain. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
didn't bother
Yeah.
me.
It could have been
The
empty.
characters and the story and everything about it was far more interesting. He was least interesting. Not
That's
that he was
good.
bad, but it was just like,
I mean-
he's a typical person is playing a typical Bond villain. It's like it didn't do
Yeah.
anything for me.
That's what I felt like.
But I didn't think it was a detractor. But I just thought the film was great. I
That's
hadn't
what
seen. I think it's in Skyfall. Is that the
Yeah.
one where?
That's all with Javier Bardem as
It ends in the
Silva.
house?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was a bit messy, but I really liked that. And do you know what actually really got like? I think everyone's had their moments with Bond, but there's a documentary called Everything or Nothing, I think, and it's just kind of tells the overall story. That documentary is great, and I think, especially in my adult life, it gave me the most appreciation for Bond and the Broccoli family. It's the whole sense of it. And I hadn't seen anything after Skyfall. It was it.
Spectre was the shit one.
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah,
that was awful.
Apart from the first 15 minutes of that film with the Day of the Dead sequence, it was pretty
Yeah,
shit.
that's fine.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Just when you said Everything or Nothing there, Jerd, there was a PS2 James Bond game called Everything or Nothing. Willem Dafoe was the bad guy, and it is the best Pierce Brosnan Bond thing that he did, and it was a video game.
Pierce
Yeah.
Brosnan's best.
Do you
Yeah,
remember?
That's the name of it.
Just that weird tangent. Anyone remember the Connery Bond game
Yeah,
from Russia with Love?
Oh,
Yeah,
Russia with Love.
Oh.
Aye, what a
Yeah,
classic.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know, Madam Michelle. What about the Suicide Squad?
Hated
Is
it.
anybody-
Oh, I thought it was.
yeah.
I forgot that came
I
out.
forgot about that.
Yeah, pretty solid film. Apparently, Peacemaker's amazing.
But,
The
right,
TV.
listen, I really didn't enjoy the Suicide Squad that much. We watched the first episode of Peacemaker, and it's solid so far.
It's
I
pretty
mean,
good.
Did you
it's
illegally
fine.
stream it, or did you?
Huh?
How did you
Of course.
stream it?
We don't disclose that information.
Just R.
We
right?
live in America. We watch HBO. What are you on about?
Listen,
You just happen to be Scottish.
The character, I enjoy John Cena, and I kind of knew this series was coming. And when I watched the movie, I was kind of like, this guy's a bit of a dick. I don't know if I want to see a series about him. But the series so far, it is kind of, it's comedic, but it's also tackling real issues.
Suspected to be.
And I also kind of, I feel like it's kind of like a commentary of how people view the Punisher, even though it's DC. It's kind of about how the Punisher
I mean, I feel
became this kind of white pride symbol, and it's kind of that and Peacemaker. It's really quite interesting the way they tackle it.
I feel like James Gunn, although he's had a fucking tough year. You know, was it 20? 'Cause he got cancelled either 2020 or
You
2021.
got cancer.
Cancelled.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cancer.
He is now passed away.
He's dead. Oh shit! Right. James Gunn. Rest in peace, James Gunn.
Can you put a graphic up here saying James Gunn?
Everybody, hold your
Right.
hand over your heart. James Gunn. He liked one of my comments one bit, but I was like, nice.
Oh,
That'll be the thumbnail. James got RIP.
Health-wise, he is fine.
His
But
social media
not
status
so much.
elsewhere. That's not so good.
Social media status. Oh.
But I think Gunnar has this good way of like he is able to interweave like quite good commentary in a lot of his scripts. Like even though Guardians is a big, I think Guardians is a big film of like big epic space proportions and stuff like that. But yet there's some weird nuance bits about fatherhood and being fathers and sons and kind of that kind of relationship.
There's a lot of that in Peacemaker. There's a lot of daddy issues.
I mean, there's...
But the other thing with Peacemaker is trying to be like The Boys and maybe not quite doing as good a job of what The Boys does with its commentary and its kind of violent comedic superhero thing. It is very much in that same vein. And it's solid, but I think if it came before The Boys, it would be more kind of groundbreaking. A lot of the time, you're kind of like, oh, we've seen this done better. Do you know what I mean? It's good. I'm not trying to put any off it. Watch it, and it is enjoyable, and I enjoyed it. But it's just, in a post-Boys world, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just not quite up to
Jeez, they're taking an awful long time to bring up that third season of The Boys. I know it's been announced.
June.
Yeah, but it just seemed to be, I guess, pandemic. But like, I was only commenting on some nerd page there earlier that like, I like John Cena. I haven't seen him in much.
Can't
see him.
No pun intended. I really didn't mean that at all. It wasn't whatsoever. I just thought let's give away much, but it's the out of year, but still, I don't have to go into specifics. I just thought his character was fucking deplorable in Suicide Squad. So then when I was like, you're making it so, I don't want to fucking see a show about him. He's a prick. Then in my head, I'm like, I've seen the opening credits for the show, which looks amazing. And like, it's so funny. There's a song by, I think it's called, I don't know the name of the band. All of my music comes from superhero stuff. That's stuff that's in trailers or film trailers. I pick up that one song and it just goes into my playlist of forever, and I love it. But even that it's so funny because that same band has one more of the other songs. Like, that's shit. But if it comes with that's where all my music comes from. If it comes with a vibe from a trailer or from a film or soundtrack or whatever. But for me now going into that show, even though I'm hearing it's kind of good, for me to enjoy it, the character would have to be different from the way he is in the film. And then if he is, I'd be annoyed about the inconsistency of the character.
Right. They actually
why did you make him a dickhead in the show if you're going to base a whole series about him? Like,
they handle that fairly well. We probably shouldn't go too much because this is my 2022 show, but regardless. They kind of, right, so they introduce his dad, and his dad is such a horrible dick. It's kind of like, oh, it's actually quite impressive that you're not more of a dick. Do you know what I mean? Because that's your dad. And
so you're moving the bar to make it like,
and they also don't
don't
make him the moral hero. Like, other heroes around him or other people in the team around him are like, you're a horrible person. Like, that's kind of the crux of the show.
So they don't change him too
not
much.
A glorification of him at all. He's, even though it's his name and title, he's not necessarily the moral protagonist. Even though you're following him, you're still a bit. You're still, you don't really need to like him to be engaged with the show.
Okay. And the dad is like T-1000 or
Robert Patrick's dad, who's just great. But it's not hilarious that intro from Pacemaker, that dance sequence, is technically in the same universe as Zack Snyder's.
That's
amazing. Like Ben Affleck, all thunderous in the dark, and look down on Gotham, as in the same universe as that intro. Like, that's amazing. I love that.
It's fun. I love that. Like, one of my weird pet peeves is like, do you ever see that like clip from, it's like an 80s or 90s TV show and it's all these kids and they're dancing? It's like, hi, my name's Jessica. I have this weird like pet peeve where I just imagine people doing cheesy dances like that and it makes me fucking shrivel inside. I don't know what it is. But it's done well for that intro and I like it. I guess if the dancing is good, maybe I'm just like my inner critique of like, if it's too cheesy and upbeat and positive, I'm like, oh, get the fuck away from me. But, I just thought that I watched that trailer, the opening credits. I was like, "That is fucking good." I was
going to say this. Like, well, I mean, technically, it might not be in the same universe anymore if with the Flash leaks are having anything.
As of just now, we can get to that when that happens. That'll be a whole kettle of fish. The only other thing I want to touch on, we were talking a lot about experiences in the cinema, like you had this year. The first big kind of the movies are back feeling that I had was when I went to see Shang-Chi. I went to Tenet wanting that. I wanted that from Tenet when I went to see it. I was like, I hope this
Is that how you pronounce it?
And sorry,
Is that how you pronounce it?
Tenet.
Tenet. Is that how you pronounce? Because I always thought it was Tenant.
No, there's not an N in it, mate. It's Tenet.
What's that?
Oh, it's Tenet!
He actually said it right, but when you called him out on it, I questioned everything about it.
The point of the film, it's the same backwards as forwards, the same as the movie. It's right. Anyway, that's what I went to that film for, and I came away with. Although I didn't hate Tenet, that's what it's called.
Couldn't hear it.
I didn't get that. You know, the movies are back, blockbuster feeling, and I did for Shang-Chi. I don't think Shang-Chi a perfect film. It's not the best Marvel film of the year, obviously, because Spider-Man, but it was the moment where I was like, "This is what I go to pictures for, like a popcorn
an experience."
blockbuster."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I really got that with Shang-Chi.
I'll be honest, the choreography in that film is fantastic, like phenomenal, and the fact that Simu Liu is it how you pronounce it?
I think so,
he did all of his own stunts. I'm pretty sure throughout all that film, and that is the.
What is it, like the Jackie Chan stunt coordinator did it?
Yeah.
Did he die after the film?
No,
Huh?
I think it's the Jackie Chan stunt coordinator, but he may have died after the film was made.
Oh, really? But like
Oh.
to see like Michelle Yeoh back as well from like Crouching Tiger, and there was just so much kind of like. And then what's his name that played the dad? Tony something.
Oh yeah,
He's a huge Hong Kong cinema actor that was in like the original version of Departed before it got Americanized, and like he's been in all these massive movies over that, and this is his first English language movie, and he absolutely nailed it as the Mandarin.
Yeah, it was really
So it was such a good movie. It was solid. Tony Leung, I think his name is.
Tony Leung.
Yeah,
Tony
he's
Leung.
great.
I've been here in front of me, but the pronunciation will probably destroy it. It was the first film I'd seen in the cinema, and it took me a while to realise what the last film I seen in the cinema was before the pandemic, and it was Little Women, and I seen it in London. I just got a over the stag, and I just fucked off from myself by a day. What did I say? I fucked off from myself. I fucked off by myself. So when I went to see Shang-Chi, the pandemic has me I'm still a little bit antsy about it, but I was really freaked by the pandemic, so I wasn't arsed going to the cinema for fucking anything. Of course, when it was a Marvel film, I was like, okay, it'll get spoiled for me if I don't go see it. Well, so it's my third time talking about Shang-Chi. Fucking the recording system keep dropping out. Really quickly, Shang-Chi, first film I seen in the cinema. I really enjoyed it. Well, I know I didn't. I was a bit nonplussed by it. I thought the choreography was really good. And then I just thought the end went to CGI, just like Black Panther. Had great choreographed fights at the start of it, but then the final act is just CGI bullshit. I would be much more interested in seeing just a big knockout, well choreographed fight between him and his father. Then so this is coming in weird, but I also mentioned my favorite films that I seen, which I didn't see in the cinema this year, were Power of the Dog with Kennedy Cumberbatch. I seen a meme where it's like, you can say his name any way you want. People, if you get it roughly right, people know who you're talking about. Great performances. It's based on a book. Great performances by him and Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons. That's his name.
Yep.
And little Nightcrawler guy. So he can get fucked with. He'd be called Nightcrawler. I think he's Scottish. The little fella. Great performances. And then the other film that I really liked was Don't Look Up. Really nice soundtrack also, but just fun. I just really enjoyed those two. Massimo, what were you saying? I don't know how this is like. If someone's listening to this, like, they're just speaking through this stuff.
Yeah,
We've recorded it 3 times, so
Does Endless want to edit this one?
we're trimming the fat. We're fine.
Right, on that note, let's move on to the worst movies of 2021.
Oh, well, what I seen was Snake Eyes.
Oh, what's a
Wow.
Oh yeah. Bad film. Snake Eyes talks too much. 2.5 hours of my life I'm never gonna get back. And a man who knows martial arts doesn't use martial arts for 90 minutes. That's all I have to say about that.
I appreciated those bullet points. Space Jam. Space Jam was a soulless cash grab.
Oh, yeah.
The original was shit too, but at least it had a charm. This one didn't have any charm to it. they had the drugs in it for some reason, even though they're not appropriate for a children's film. And I hate all these films that are soulless cash grabs that just throw hundreds of characters in, and they should stop doing it because Ready Player One is bad, and Space
Just
Jam
like
is
what you
bad,
should
and
stop doing with your hair.
all these things are bad.
Unless it's a Marvel film and they're Marvel characters.
In which case, absolutely fine.
Well, yeah, sure, unless they just don't think about it and throw them all in the way that Warner Bros. Do. But yeah.
It worked all right so far. Until they make a really bad one, I'm do it, Marvel.
Right, so with that out of the way.
Gerard, what is the worst film you've seen this year?
Oh, it's with me. All right.
It's broken again.
Let me see. I kind of forgot how we recorded this the other time. Sorry, I forgot my line. What did I fucking say first? One of two things. Venom.
Oh,
Venom.
yeah,
Venom, yeah.
Venom,
that's
let there be more
wait,
Venom.
Oh, I mean, oh.
Fucking shite.
Surprise.
Again, massive Spider-Man fan. I've probably mentioned this in the podcast before, that just any idea of like characters existing outside of themselves or outside of Spider-Man, it was just muck, and it's weird because it's like got Tom Hardy in it. It was directed by
Andy Serkis,
which I guess he hasn't directed a crazy amount. I know he did it. Was a Mogwai film?
Yeah, Mogwai. Yeah.
Planet of the Apes, did he not have?
No, he didn't direct it.
No,
that was Matt Reeves, who's doing Batman.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah, and like even Woody Harrelson as like an old Carnage, I guess. You know,
And
maybe in the
Stephen James,
90s when he did
like,
Natural Born
they
Killers,
wasted
was
him
a
too.
good Carnage, but it wasn't even necessarily him. It's just the whole film was just messy. Like all these Sony-verse films, as we were saying about Andrew Garfield earlier, they're just muck and they're toxic and they're. I feel like I said this in the last podcast. Definitely it is verbatim, but I just think they're absolute shite. Now I did I watched it with a friend and he seemed to enjoy it, but like, yeah, just very unpleasant.
Just for a minute, can you imagine that Morbius was amazing? Like, imagine just
No, I think
it was like The Dark Knight. Like, it was up for Oscars and all that.
Yeah, just because
Giving Jared Leto films, like I don't actively hate him.
It's me, Jared Leto.
Well, that's a question. He's getting a Razzie this year for House of Gucci, right? It has to be. I mean,
yeah,
100%.
I am a Monty Mogul fashion man.
You're Italian, and that still sounded racist.
Yeah, just all that Sonyverse, and then yeah, I thought it was terrible. It was just like there was so many things in it too. Like they set up the Shriek character as like she's got audio powers, and like isn't there a bit where like Venom is just like he like thinks of something and then there's the bell and she's in it, but like that has no effect on Carnage at all.
Right.
And then Carnage is just bigger, which is like I don't know, it's a small thing, but in the comics, Carnage is a slim, small, more Spider-Man like, and he can beat the shit out of Venom.
Yeah, he's
live. Then he's just massive in this.
And I think. I mean, I'm not kind of guy who thinks everything has to be rated R, but I think if you're doing Carnage, you can't do PG-13 Carnage, and they did, and that's why it had no punch. And I totally agree with both Snake Eyes and Venom being in the worst of the year, because those were the two films this year that we put on and didn't finish.
And we put it back off again.
There's only two this year that we watched like 40 minutes and went, this is garbage, and
we
put it off.
didn't even manage 40 minutes of Venom, we managed about 15 minutes of Venom.
Yeah. But yeah.
How do you like your eggs in the morning?
I tried to watch the first one before watching the second one, and I couldn't, and I tried it over a couple of days. I just got about 40 minutes into it. I was like, fuck.
We just skipped to the post-credits.
You know, that's it, because I didn't hate the first one. Like, it wasn't great, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I had moments that were...
It was alright.
Okay,
but no, I couldn't...
The second one was worse, yeah.
I couldn't force myself to watch the second one.
I kind of skimmed over Eternals, which I don't think it was terrible.
I liked it.
I was going to say, I don't think Eternals belongs in either list. Like, it was just...
I think
it's weird, like...
I think it had almost no fanfare. It had... it was no fanfare to it. There was, like, no... Like, I saw so much market for Shang-Chi, and I saw so much market for No Way Home, and I seen almost nothing for Eternals, which came through the... I even saw loads of market for Black Widow as well.
Yeah.
But, like, Eternals... did that even get covered, Black Widow?
Maybe?
Yeah, I thought I got lost. not a fan of Black
CGI
Widow.
stuff at the end again.
Yeah,
like
but
give her like she's a grounded character. Give her.
yeah, would have
I
been
like, I
fine.
felt bad for Scarlett Johansson. She obviously got
Yeah.
fucked over with Disney, but then
And Yelena was the best
Yeah,
that come out of that film.
yeah,
and also
Yelena's
David
great.
Harbour's Red Guardian was pretty fun as well. But yeah, I totally agree. It doesn't deserve to go in either because it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't the film I ever thought it was going to be.
And it
I
was
think.
a shame because the cast was so good.
Yeah.
And Eternals, yeah.
Like the Eternals cast was brilliant. Like you've got that really good girl who's deaf from Walking Dead.
Micaiah, the character name was.
And you've got
Barry Keoghan and
yeah.
You got Kumail Nanjiani as well. It was really fun.
And
Salma Hayek.
I just feel like
Madden.
that
yeah.
film would have been so much better,
Kat
like
Haddington.
extended and done as like a wee mini series or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Because then you could have touched more on like Angelina Jolie's like mental condition and like
The weary.
and everything. Like they managed to just squish it all too much. So I
Yeah.
feel like if it was a bit
Expanded.
I mean,
expanded, it would have
also
been much better.
Blade's in that film as well.
Yeah, Blade's introduced at the end, but just
The
by a
voice
voiceover.
of-
Yeah.
The voice of
Because
Mahershala
obviously,
Ali.
Colin Mahershala Ali just recorded that in his house and sent it to them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think there was good elements to it. Like I think, sometimes like I'm always like, oh, why don't they do this sometimes? When they actually, I think if there's an superhero action film where they have a character like Commander Nanjiani, just his character just goes away at the end. It's like, oh no, I don't want to fight. Good luck.
yeah.
It's kind of a nice human touch, I guess, but
Yeah.
put him in a fucking fight. Like what third
That's a
act.
Marvel film, mate.
The guy with arguably the coolest power of finger guns.
Yeah. Just fucks off at the end of it. Like, I know it was interesting. I don't think it's in worse, but it was just a bit. What is this like?
Yeah, 100%. Chris,
I've got one that's a two-parter, and
Okay.
I usually do like these kind of films, but it was based on a comic book that I really, really like, and it was called The Long Halloween. And it was
Oh.
the DC animated thing, and it was about 3 hours of my life that I'm kind of thought, oh shit, okay, like I'll get through it, see what the story is, see if they've done it justice, but I don't think you can get like Jeff Rhodes and Tim Sale's like style across
yeah,
with not being it look clunky. So yeah, that was pretty shit for me. But I'm usually the guy that pure pushes the animated films. I love the DC stuff, but I think they're trying to just recreate classic comics. It's not. They've done that with The Killing Joke, destroyed it.
yeah.
They're doing all the big ones, and it's like, ugh.
There's
stop
Injustice
doing
was
that.
out this year too, because I just seen
Yeah,
that
which was
Googling.
not great. Yeah.
No, it's not
I did
good
all
either.
my research of googling films of
H
2021.
Bomber guy's got a great video on the Killing Joke movie and why it doesn't work in comparison to the comic. It's a phenomenal, one of the best like
Who's that?
essays that I've seen. H Bomber guy.
H Bomber guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's great.
Oh yeah, I keep hearing about him.
All his content's great. He hates J.K. Rowling and Game Lineham. He's proper just it takes a piss out of just comedy and Hollywood and just loads of different things. But his Killing Joke video is solid.
Mhm. I mean, it's a very the Killer Joke is very easy to like stab at, but man, it was terrible.
But
it was a bad movie.
But with Long Halloween, I've not seen the thing, but my main concern, obviously, I love that comic, and my main concern was that they would not be able to translate Tim Sale's art, and from what I've seen, they didn't.
No, it's very stripped back. I mean, you can understand for like animation purposes, but like, just don't do it. Do like an audio
do
book.
Maybe don't do it, mate.
I mean, they could do what they did with the Sandman.
Ah,
where
exactly.
they,
Do like
yeah.
a wee audio series or something, and then use Tim Tale's art like as like slow or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like still frames with the text going up or something. Yeah,
But it's. I mean, see, be honest, I can't remember the guy who was from Supernatural who voiced Batman.
Jason Ackles.
I was like, oh,
voice as
okay,
well.
it's not that bad. Bit boring, but not that bad. Like, you can't get over Conroy, but he's getting a wee bit old, so we need to figure out somebody that's going to do justice.
was Troy Baker Joker?
Aye.
Troy Baker. Yeah. He's in a lot of games, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in loads of games.
Yeah,
Isn't he Tony Stark in the Avengers game?
Yeah, he's Pagan Ming in Far Cry. He's Sam Drake in Uncharted. He's
like the guy.
It's him and Nolan North that are the guys.
And he's got an NFT. now. So yeah,
No way.
yeah,
Oh.
just kind of
Never
lost a lot of
anyone
respect
ever
for him
learned
when I
there.
read that yesterday. So, yeah.
He has
Um,
jumped on people's careers, like he's like totally took over Mark Hamill's Joker. Like Mark Hamill says, "Do I do it?" and he's like, "Fine, I'll jump on, do it for you."
Let's try to listen to some of that. Will we go to, or is it, we jump
well,
into
I just wanted to shout out a
Well,
few other
worse.
bad movies.
There you go.
The first film we seen back at the cinema, we were talking about that, was the first film we seen back, was Spiral, the Book of Saw. Now, Spiral got a really bad review for IGN, like a 10, or, sorry, a 2 or a 3 out of 10. It's not that bad. It's
I thought it was
it's okay. Do you know what I mean?
my worst film, since you asked,
Uh-huh.
was I think it's not a bad film by any means, but just going on my enjoyment of it was The French Dispatch.
Oh, really?
Really?
worse.
Struggled so much, and I really like Wes Anderson, really like him, and there was good moments of that film. Like there was snippets that I was like, oh no, this is actually quite good.
Yeah.
But then there was other snippets that I was like, this is completely unnecessary. Like the whole Owen Wilson like
Story.
vignette was just not needed. Like I just didn't.
Yeah.
And then you know that way you kind of feel, oh yeah, he's in that.
The
So just
I
for
can't even
my
remember his story
enjoyment,
now, really.
sitting watching it, I was like, oh no, like I can't wait for
it
this to be done.
should have been a miniseries. I think it would have worked way better if they'd, because it feels disjointed as a film. So if it had been a miniseries, that would have been fine because it would have been different episodes. But I think a lot of people, including myself, based on the trailers, went in looking for a spiritual successor to Grand Budapest Hotel, and it's not on that level.
Yeah, it's disconnected.
No.
I found like mostly I love Wes Anderson films, but it usually comes from having watched the film, given it a bit of time, thought about it, watched it again, and that's where I kind of get it. I think like for me, it was so fucking Wes Anderson-y.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
He's
But-
kind of went on his own, tooting his own horn. Like he's.
Yep. But I always feel like, and it's something I felt for a lot of years, I wish he pushed his humor in his films more, because he's interesting setups, interesting visuals, always has a great cast, but he completely underuses them. And now, I know it's a certain style, it's more reserved, dry humor, but he really could push his humor just that little bit more, and I think he could still hold that element of dryness, but make you laugh, maybe, and not just like,
Yeah.
okay, I know that I'm supposed to
There
like this because it's arty.
There was shining moments in French Dispatch. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
he does a montage very well, and they do this montage where it shows Tony Rivoli aging into Benicio del Toro, and the way it's done is so clever, and it kind of breaks the fourth wall, and it's just so Wes Anderson. That sequence is the highlight of the film, but as it
The animation
was
was kind of
film
fun.
for that. I mean, that's.
I mean, as I said, like I really like Wes Anderson. I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is one of the best animated films ever.
I let off this good.
The way that
Moonrush probably for me.
like his style of
Yeah.
filming, I really
Which
like
one?
as well the fact that like even though it was animated, he had George Clooney wired up in a motion capture suit with all the mics on him, actually
Yeah.
dig the way that a fox would dig. Like that is genius. So that you can get the breathlessness that the fox would have if it was to speak, and it's
Yeah.
brilliant. But no, just for sitting watching a film, I was like, come on man, hurry up and end. But
Yeah.
in terms of a bad film, Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that was
I forgot about
Yeah, Resident Evil was
disgrace. Oh,
trash.
get to hell.
But, like,
that was awful.
I'm not a humongous video game fan by any means. Like, I like a good video game that is good to sit and watch him play, because that's what I do. But if he's playing Resident Evil, I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, I can sit and watch this, because it's a very cinematic video game. How did they make such a cinematic video game so bad in a cinema movie? It's bad.
The saddest thing about it, the worst thing about it, is how good the set design was.
Oh, yeah.
The cast as well looks decent. Like the
decent
like-
cast.
Yeah.
The PlayStation's recreated to a T. The mansion's
Oh.
recreated to a T. Like, that is so impressive.
The set designer is amazing.
Like,
Wait,
It
was
clearly
the-
the set
effects,
designer
isn't it?
was
It's
a
got
big fan and nobody else was.
Absolutely.
I heard it had the tiniest budget, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
the really small budget.
ridiculously so.
All of it went on the set.
Some of the
I've
CGI
seen just
then is
snippets of
pretty
the
So is it
CGI.
a combination of the first two games? Like, what is?
It's so
Do
rushed.
them separately, like, you know.
It's so
throw
rushed.
everything
Yeah,
into
that's
one.
what I said.
The
Just do
film,
them separate.
so the film's an hour and a half long, right? That's 90 minutes, short movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think. See how also the iconic moment in the first Resident Evil film where the zombie's eating someone and then they run in with the torches and it turns around and looks at them.
Slowly, yeah.
That's like that kind of iconic moment. That's 57 minutes out of the film, I think. I moved the cursor because that happened and I'm like, oh my god, we're getting a zombie, thank Christ. And I moved the thing to see how far in we were. Maybe it was 47 minutes. But
There's no zombies into that point.
None.
You
No,
kind
no.
of get hints at a zombie. You see people like start to act weird.
And like crying blood and
So
But
here's
the
the
first
thing.
full-on zombie attack is almost an hour out of the film.
See if I'm looking at the cast, I'm looking at that is fucking Chris Redfield. I'm looking at Robbie Amell, like fucking the British guy, can't remember his name, he's in Umbrella Academy.
Thomas Hopper, is it?
Yeah, is he?
Yeah.
I assume he's what?
I didn't think
Leo
he was-
Kennedy, right?
No, he's Wesker.
He's
Yeah,
Wesker. Oh, there you go, fucking absolutely spot on Albert Wesker, right? Like,
But the guy that plays Leon Kennedy, right? He's this bum. He just sleeps all the time, and he's just a pure waste, right? And then he turns up at the police station, and they also ruined it because in the game, Leon turns up at the police station, and it's already derelict.
Empty.
Like everybody's dead, and there's zombies in every corridor. See in the movie, he goes in and he has like an introduction, and he meets everyone.
Oh
and
no!
Then he's left to like man the desk himself, and then the zombies come, and
he's got headphones on
yeah.
when like the big truck crashes.
Yeah, he's got
So it made him look
1999
stupid.
Sony headphones on, right?
And this
then a
explosion
truck literally
happens.
crashes out the door and he doesn't hear it. It's like, mate, I remember those headphones. The noise cancellation was not that good. That's bullshit. And then he's so useless. Like he can't fire a gun and whatever. And there's a part where Claire Redfield says to him, "Oh no, they're talking. She gives him a shotgun, and then he's like, 'How do I use this?' And she has to show him. And then he looks at her and he goes, 'I bet you're wondering why I became a cop.' And she goes, 'Yeah, I am.' And he goes, 'Me too.' And walks away. You're like, what?
And like I was so optimistic for it. Like the trailers were out, he was like,
do you know what? I mean, arguably, it's the most accurate Resident Evil game because the dialogue's fucking terrible.
That's
why you're the master of rocks. You're almost a Jill sandwich.
Oh,
the first Anderson movie, obviously, as you said, isn't faithful, but it's a better movie than this.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because, as I said, they were close. The set design was solid. They just tried to do too much at once.
The remakes were so good. Like, just translate the remakes.
Yeah, just make the remake.
The second one,
there's no Mr. X in the movie.
No.
There's
really?
There's nobody stalking you through the corridor.
Is Nemesis in it?
Huh?
Is Nemesis not at the end?
That's the third game. Nemesis is the third game.
Oh yeah, but like they kind of just
character,
pushed him in there, yeah.
But yeah, he's not in the movie at all.
Resi 2 is the remake is astounding. Like I haven't replayed it since I played it the first time, but it's just terrifying. And it was like I hadn't played a game maybe of that quality in a while, so like it just scared the shit out of me. And I hate playing it because I think by the end of the game you're kind of more used to the zombies in it, but like even if they just took the vibe and the kind of fucking the color, lighting choices there, it would be great.
Yeah.
What was Lisa in it? Was Lisa?
Yeah,
Lisa,
but
how was that go?
Nah, it's half-arsed. She's in it for about 10 minutes, and like it's just just nothing.
Is that the like monster girl?
Yeah, that's a girl that he does experiments on and stuff.
That's his
and
daughter.
again, like she looked brilliant.
Yeah, the design was kind of cool.
She looked amazing, and then they also had like the big eye shoulder.
Yeah, they had.
Oh, sick.
He was like curling a bit, and I'm like, oh, that looks like the game, and he's in it for 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's just
Did
so
you
rough.
go down to like the dungeon to find her, and then you went round in a circle to kind of lose her? And then she
No,
decided-
it's not that.
They're tanking holes in the film.
No.
Talking about bad video game adaptations, we also had Mortal Kombat this year.
Was that no good though? Was that no like
liked
cheesy
it.
good?
I thought it
Cheesy
was
good.
okay.
It was bad.
It was
Magical
forgettable
jumper
because I
your man
forgot
had.
it came out, but I liked it.
But yeah, I would say it's definitely not worse than Resident Evil. So that's personally that's my worst movies of the year. I don't know if
That's
anyone's
fair as
got any other trash out before we move on.
Matrix.
Right, well, I was going to say, do you want to talk about Matrix? Because I know that kind of people watched
I think it
Okay.
had some all right touches, but it was just fucking.
I've not seen it yet. And again, that is because I chose to go see Spider-Man a third time over seeing The Matrix.
That's fair enough. Honestly,
Probably a
that's
good option. Sounds like a good option.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can spoil it. I don't really mind.
So-
I
I
heard
don't
it's...
think, you're
There's not
really
that much to
happy. I
spoil.
just thought
Yeah.
they're unnecessary.
Right,
Just a bit shit.
my main issue, I didn't hate it. I think it might be the best sequel because the other two are terrible. But was it worth digging up Trinity and Neo? Probably not.
No.
Neo doesn't hold a gun in the whole film.
Really?
Neo doesn't hold a firearm the whole movie.
He's just like that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh.
Watch yourself.
There's a side by side. So there was
Get back.
we spoke earlier about stunt coordinators.
Uh-huh.
The stunt coordinator that the Wachowskis hired for the original was this kind of big martial arts choreographer. They did not elect to bring him back for this movie, and he is sorely missed. Like,
Oh, you can see
the
it.
combat is so lacking, and
Especially
there's
after
that
John
side by
Wick,
side.
like, can't just do it.
Exactly. That's what because you've got John Wick. Like, you know how good Keanu is with guns in real life because I don't know if you've seen the behind the scenes videos of him at
Yeah,
Fire
he's fantastic.
He's shit hot. Why would you not let him do
Use that.
gun fu? Like, why take the guns away from him and just have him do that? There's a side by side video that shows the old Matrix movies with compared to the action in the new ones, and it's like all this, when he blocks all the punches and when he's jumped through the air firing two guns, whatever. And then it's a new one. He's just like that's it the whole time, and you're like, why? No, this wasn't worth digging up Neo and Trinity for. Like,
Yeah. From rewatching the first two sequels, I think I nearly in some ways kind of enjoyed the third one a little bit more in some cases.
wow,
But
I hate that movie.
they went so far with the action, like it went way over the top. Whereas all they had to do to make the rest of those films good is, well, obviously he fucking went Super Saiyan at the end of the first one, but they just had to do choreography as good as that last fight. Infinite, like they could have brought it up. Maybe by the third film, I know they went different ways story wise. Maybe by the third film, he's fighting 100 Smiths or whatever. But they just needed to recreate that level, like, because it was really intense with a little bit of magicalness to it, but really good choreography, and that's all. Any action film should just be like, let's just do this. Just have really good action in fight scenes.
Yeah, 100%. I would say it's the worst, but yeah. Should we move on to TV?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few picks.
I think Massimo, you said you'd watched quite a lot of TV this year.
I did indeed. Are we doing best or are we doing worst first?
Up to you, mate. You can start with best. That's up to you.
All right, so best, I would say. Actually, do you know what? Worst, because I'm going to do my controversial take here, because I usually have one of these. On further reflection after watching it, I think Squid Game is a pile of pish.
Okay.
And I think there are, out of, 5 or 6 episodes? There are 2 or 3, there's like 2 episodes that are really good in there.
Right.
But I feel like the rest of it falls flat. Do you know what I mean? Not pile, but I feel like it's too strong. It just, like, it doesn't work fully for me.
Some dumb choices, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the Marbles episode is fantastic, and I think the Glass Bridge episode is great as well. But I just feel like there's certain parts of it for me that just fall flat, and you can definitely tell there's a lot of maybe sequel baiting in there.
Right.
And the ending of it's not great either. I don't really agree with it. And I just felt like for a show that is so highly regarded, I thought there are great aspects of it. There's some great performances. However, I feel like it loses a lot of its charm if you think about it for too long.
It's a bit
In my
flashy.
opinion. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, I think it is. There are good parts of it, but I just don't think it works as a show entirely. I think it's a few shows like that for me.
We've not seen it yet, but are you guys with Massimo, or did you like it?
No, I would have put it in as it was one of my best things that I've seen, but I kind of feel like when Breaking Bad came out, the last season of Breaking Bad, there was the break in between the last season. James Gandolfini died. I went back to rewatch Sopranos. Breaking Bad came back. I tried like 2 episodes, like, fuck this, I'm finishing Sopranos. Because I had seen it, but I'd never seen it properly before. That really just gave me the idea of Sopranos is the fucking shit, and it is number 1. It's the best show ever made.
Okay.
Breaking Bad is really good, but there's a lot of it's sensational, it's flash in the pan kind of stuff. I don't think Breaking Bad would hold up as much in a rewatch.
I prefer Breaking Bad out of the two.
Well, fuck you.
I'm with you. I prefer Sopranos.
I just think I don't like it. Breaking Bad is really good, but I don't think it doesn't touch
Yeah.
Sopranos and the levels of writing and acting and quality of story. And I think Squid Game is really enjoyable, but it just kind of had elements of that where it was just kind of sensational. The main character, it's kind of like, 3 billboards out of whatever that film was. Sam Rockwell's character is a different character in the first half of the film and the second half of the film. People don't change that much. The main character in Squid Game is a fucking wastrel, and he's kind of they portray him when he's actually in the games is far more for the majority of it, he's this moral character. He's not. People don't change that much.
As I said, I think there are definitely episodes that really work, and I feel like it's definitely worth a watch. But I feel like as a show that has a lot of rewatchability, it's not like, oh, I'll go back and rewatch that show when season 2 comes out, or I'm like, it's all right, it's okay, it falls a bit flat. And it's what I'm gonna say my second kind of, okay, this is my worst. Because I think for you to have a worst TV show, you have to have watched it all the way through, from start to finish. Because if you watch a show, the first 3 episodes of it, and then you say it's the worst TV show, you aren't giving it its full dues. Because maybe the first 3 episodes are shit, and then the next 6 are amazing. Which still doesn't make it an amazing show, but it just means that you've at least thought about it. I think, and I was a big defender of it at the time, and I really liked the start of it. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier fell flat towards the end a little bit.
Marvel shows,
yeah, just for the sole reason of how it felt so rushed, and it felt like it was missing bits and pieces of its story.
Yeah,
like WandaVision, I felt like it was a complete package.
Yeah.
Loki felt like it was a complete package when you were watching it, in my opinion. But Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I think it suffers a similar problem Hawkeye does as well, in my opinion. Because I think Hawkeye's great, but I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier has it worse, where it's trying to hand off the mantle too hard, and by doing so, it falls flat. See, case in point, John Walker, who I understand is supposed to be he's a character who is very troubled, very traumatic, and all that, but it just has this moment where he is he has a thing where he catches a truck, and I really enjoy that. I really like that, but I don't know if his character would have changed that much across the board. I just feel like the elements of it that don't work, and I'll get hated for this anyway, but I enjoy it. I enjoyed the first 3 episodes, but I felt like it was unfinished. I felt like half the show was missing.
I would totally agree. I would definitely feel like out of the Marvel shows that came out this year, I would definitely say that it was one of the most lacking. I mean, I still enjoyed it. I still really enjoyed parts of it, but it definitely had something missing, a bit of charm or something missing that WandaVision or even Loki that they had, and that just
my thing with the Marvel shows, if you had told me at the start of the year that my favourites would have been Hawkeye and WandaVision, and my least favourite would have been Captain America, I'd have been like, shut up. That is how it turned out. Out of all the shows released this year, Falcon and Winter Soldier was the most. I feel like every episode, nothing happened.
You were waiting for something. Yeah.
And I kept going, there's only 6 episodes. How can nothing have happened? And we're 3 episodes in. Do you know what I mean? I liked the new suit when we got there with the new suit, the comic accurate suit. That was cool. The finale was decent, but overall it was so disappointing. I mean, you're taking Ed Brubaker's iconic run on Captain America. I love Brubaker. I love that era for Captain America, the trial of Captain America and all that, the death of Captain America and blah blah blah. I
mean, there's still rumours about it missing 2 episodes or something like that, because there was a whole subplot about a virus that they had to take out because of COVID, apparently.
I think maybe
I think out of all of the shows, it was the most affected by the pandemic, just in general regards to shooting. I have heard, I'm pretty sure I've heard that rumour.
Yeah.
Disparaged or word. I have heard some people kind of coming back after us say no, that wasn't the case. But I mean, there is isn't there a Captain America story where it's the Mad Bomb? I don't know if that's from the Brubaker run.
I think so, yeah.
We should probably do comics at the end of this.
Yeah, we'll get to comics.
But I kind of enjoyed it when I was watching it, to be honest with you. I thought the ending was a bit flat, all right.
Yeah, and that was kind of my main issue. Was
again, U.S. agents kind of redemption at the end, oh yeah, he's not a murderer. He murdered someone, but yeah, whatever.
Obviously,
he decapitated a man with a shield.
Or caved in his chest. I think I prefer caved in his chest. I mean, there's the options there of which one. I thought the fight was really fucking good, but when they kind of got the shield off him, that was very tense for me.
yeah.
I thought the action was fantastic.
The choreography is phenomenal, but I just think the story beats are kind of lacking.
But the thing is, right, the Dora Milaje turning up was the best thing about that series. The Dora Milaje turn up shouldn't be the best thing about a Captain America series. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem. It's like, if your best thing about that show is from another franchise, yeah. In terms of Marvel stuff though, I think Loki obviously has probably had the most impact on the Marvel movies going forward, but it was kind of middle of the road for me. Loki, if you ask me, in terms of like following these shows week to week and being like, oh, I need to see the next episode, I can't wait to see what happens. That was WandaVision and Hawkeye for me. I was looking up theories on my phone and I was buzzing for the next episode coming and looking forward to the finale. I didn't get that with Loki, and I definitely didn't get it with Falcon Winter Soldier.
I think Hawkeye lost me towards the end because I was really, really enjoying it, and I think when I realised, there's only one episode left,
right?
And how are they gonna, like, Kingpin's supposed to be in this? Like, how are they gonna tie up? And then they have Kingpin in it for 20 minutes, and then they possibly, I don't think they've killed him.
No.
But I'm like, okay, I get it. You'll be like, okay, you're removing this character from the equation for now. But I'm like, okay.
What was the point in that, though?
Yeah. What was the point of a being in the show if you weren't going to utilise him? I don't know.
But the fact that they brought back Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin and Matt Murdock in the same week because Spider-Man and that episode of Hawkeye were out the same way, that was a stroke of genius. I appreciated that.
I think for me.
You're right.
I was going to say, for the Marvel things, like it was kind of connected to what Massimo said. Like, I've watched them once, and that's it. All of them. Didn't really care. Like, see, like WandaVision, I've struggled with that. I was like, this is what I was actually doing. What you were doing, Dan, with Resident Evil. I was like, when is this finishing? Hurry up! I just need to get through this so I can understand stuff. I don't know why. I felt it was dead slow. Yeah. I actually liked Captain America. I don't know why. I thought that was the best out of them all. I don't know why. But I think it kind of dived deep into characters that I was interested in.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Zemo's great as well, man.
Yeah.
Like Wanda, I know. Like Vision, I know. I kind of know these guys. I'm like, all right, okay, it's more of these guys, great. But the guys I didn't have any clue on, I felt was much. That's what I connected to them, and I was like, see, if it wasn't for the pandemic, would these get made? That's what I was thinking. Like, or I'm guessing they would already been made. But
the timing for Disney to start their TV shows was perfect.
Perfect.
Oh god,
a break for cinema stuff.
They were all about halfway through shooting, I think.
Yeah. So that was a stroke of genius. I mean, if it was Disney, maybe you could say that they knew it was coming.
Oh,
they probably did.
But it's Disney, innit?
Know all the pies.
But I sorry, just we talked about Zemo there, and I just remembered The King's Man. That deserves a shout out for being a garbage movie.
Really? I thought it was great.
That Daniel Brühl is in that movie and totally wasted. And that film in general was just garbage. Sorry, I just had to that out, man.
I thought it was a 2022 film, which is why I didn't mention it. But that probably was my worst film. I would probably change it.
That's unfortunate.
That film was trash.
Okay. Is that the one with Ralph Fiennes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it would be really good. I like him.
Chrissy, what's your least favourite TV show of the last year?
I would, if I was to really, really pick it. It would be WandaVision. I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's mostly because it started off really slow for me, and I was like, okay. Towards the end, I'm like, okay, it ended brilliantly. It's got a nice battle. It's got interesting characters, but I don't know why. I think it was like the first at the bat, and it was the weakest. I don't know why for me. I know you love it, so it's like very, very against what you like. But I think Loki was like the main thing for me is what are these shows setting up, and I know WandaVision's setting up Doctor Strange, which is now like I'm now seeing the benefit of watching them now. I'm like, all right, okay, they're connecting things, but I'm thinking, see, if you were just a person that just wanted to watch the movies, you would just show up and say, okay, where's WandaVision? Who's that Wanda? You would miss those kind of key moments. But I'm guessing if you are a Marvel fan, you're not going to miss these TV shows. So
Yeah.
it's like,
I do wonder though, how will these factor in a remake for people? Because we do go back to watch Marvel films every now and again. Are you going to sit and watch?
exactly, because you have them like in a collection, don't you?
Yeah,
like, you have them
I think
in,
that'll
like,
be interesting to see. Like, are you going to be asked watching Falcon Winter
watching the
Soldier?
whole
Like,
thing again.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It's
Do you know
a
something?
one-take wonder.
Something that really irked me, and this is the post credits, the end of Spider-Man. He's swinging through the city and he sees the big tree in the square.
Yep.
At the end of the Hawkeye show, that tree gets brought down, and that's supposed to be. I'm like, my brain was like, wait, does
Backup tree.
Does this take place?
But Spider-Man could be taking place on the 1st of December, whereas Hawkeye was
true.
like Christmas Eve. So
Yeah, that tree could be up for a while.
Yeah.
Good point. But Yelena says she wants to see the new improved Statue of Liberty, and that seemingly takes place way before Christmas because that the end that
Halloween.
final battle. So there is a bit of mix-up.
Halloween. Yeah.
But you need to remember they knocked down that big shield, which probably restarted construction. So
maybe Yelena was just being ironic.
You imagine the some New Yorker. Hey, what happened to my shield?
Such a horrific idea to do.
Jared Leto.
It's Morbius.
I'm a New Yorker now. Watch where I'm walking. For me, I think Loki was kind of like the middle of the road, where it was like not even middle of the road. I think it just struck the landing the best, and I don't think, like, to be honest, I haven't rewatched an awful lot of the Marvel films. I've seen them once, or I might see them a couple of times when they come out, but the idea of me turning on Captain America, the first Avenger now, I'd get sick probably. Just, I don't know. None of them are really, after they first come out, there's not many of them that I'm obsessed to go rewatching, like, and especially the idea of trying to rewatch a series like Wanda. None of the mystery's gone there. I know the first 2 episodes were kind of tough to watch, because they should have released like 3 just to give you a vibe of it. And I don't know if it struck the landing as well, but I just thought there was some great stuff. But I've probably definitely said this before. It was Agatha all along. It wasn't. It was Wanda, and that song, although it's brilliant, makes no sense. She wasn't the villain. She was literally trying to stop Wanda doing her shit, trying to bring her out of her whatever. What were the other shows? What If? Some fun. I always enjoy watching the Marvel stuff, but I don't think I'll go back and watch an awful lot of them. What am I missing? Hawkeye. Thought some great moments. The fucking chemistry between two Hawkeyes, and then Kate Bishop and Yelena was like, what did she say to her? The line like, "You're so likable." And it's like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I am. Their interactions were great. Yeah. So for me, Loki is probably the best. But I enjoyed all of them while watching them.
Was there anything else, Jerd, that you've seen on TV outside of Marvel that you hated?
I wouldn't say, because like, if I'm not enjoying something even a little bit,
you'll watch it.
I won't watch it. Now I'm a massive Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. I've maybe only watched 2 episodes of the new season. I think it's just past. I'm like, Larry, please stop. Like, it's just not as funny anymore. The setups are so fucking ridiculous compared to what they used to be. I know I think it's season 11 now. In season 10, there's an episode where some woman sprays perfume on him, like a tester thing, and he just pushes her over to the ground.
Pure shoves her.
It's just like, that's not like, the best thing about Curb is when it's obviously it has to get a little bit heightened, but it starts in believability. I just thought it was very, the bits are very laboured, but other than that, so I don't really spend time on TV shows if I don't like them. I really enjoyed Midnight Mass, and not to mention anything about it. That was
one of my best ones. Yeah, Midnight Mass was
great.
Fantastic. It was really good.
It was very engrossing watching it.
Yeah. Right, Courtney, what was the worst thing you've seen in 2021 on TV?
I don't know. I did quite enjoy a lot of TV in 2021, so I think I would need to say the one that I least enjoyed would probably be Falcon Winter Soldier. Even though it wasn't, like, I still enjoyed bits of it, and it wasn't a bad TV show, but
it felt like a chore.
It was more of a slog, definitely. Currently, I'm a wee bit struggling with Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's 2022 though, technically, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm struggling too.
Yeah.
I haven't got
struggling
here
with
yet.
Boba Fett at the moment.
Yeah, love Mandalorian, but I'm struggling with Boba Fett.
See, I've not even seen The Witcher or Cobra Kai yet either. I need to watch them.
I've
Like,
never seen that either.
That's
I've
what
not
I was
seen
going to
that.
say. The
I've
Witcher
seen season 1 of The
is-
Witcher, but
like from me, Witcher, the season 1 hit out of the park, and the Witcher season 2, they're trying to they're not hitting out of the park. You know what I mean? They're trying to play it safe.
Yeah,
That's what I
no, that
thought
could
for
be
it.
right.
Like, it's not as good as season 1, and I'm a Witcher fan. Played the
Yeah.
games and all that, and I'm like, oh, what are you
Okay.
doing?
same as Cobra
I
Kai for
wasn't
me.
a fan of The Witcher. I couldn't
we tried the first episode.
I
And
couldn't get it.
garbage, man.
Couldn't get it.
Shite.
Wait,
I-
what episode? Season 1 or season 2?
Yeah, season 1.
One.
Ah,
Season 1 was good.
I thought it was
Ah,
good. No,
hey.
fine.
I liked it. Like, I think with any show that I'm not familiar with, I have to kind of push myself through like 2 or 3 episodes. But I'm very like I can very easily watch 2 or 3 episodes of something and just drop it. Succession, actually, season 3. I watched maybe the first 2 episodes. I don't know if any of you have seen it. I just felt like I saw the framework of even though everyone says it's fucking amazing, it feels like there's really witty banter, there's really dramatic stuff. Someone makes a fucking heel turn or it switches sides or there's a twist. The next episode, that twist means nothing, and then it happens again, and someone else makes a fucking big decision. Like, now I got you. And I plowed through it in a week, and I did enjoy it. Probably, like, it put me off finishing the 3rd season. I left it for months, and then I plowed through it there a week or 2 ago. I did enjoy it, but I do kind of feel you can kind of just see it. It just feels like it's cyclical. It's the same shit happening over and over again, which I guess it kind of is because different things happen to different characters. But I just don't think they set up stuff and then it comes to nothing.
The only other thing I want to touch on in terms of worst is Jupiter's Legacy.
That was cool.
Mostly just because I was really let down. I was kind of hoping for something in the vein of The Boys. That was kind of what I was hoping for. I've read the comic. I've got both Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter Ascending. That's the chance.
It's shitty Ed Redmayne.
Whatever the other ones, Jupiter Circle, and Jupiter Legacy. I've read one of them years ago, so I kind of knew some stuff about it. But yeah, I mean, I like the cast. A great cast, and it's a Mark Millar show, which I'm not biggest fan of his work, but I will usually give them a go at least. But yeah, I couldn't stick with it. I just couldn't.
They're very cheap.
Yeah,
There's like one alien character I just seen a screenshot of. I'm like, nah, don't want to watch that.
There was very like CW vibes to it. Even though it was Netflix money, and I don't know, it was just a bit of a letdown. It was just whiny kids, and I don't know. It just
apparently, Super Crooks is really good.
I bet it's animated, right?
Yeah. Apparently the animated show is really good. Like how.
So, talking about animated TV shows, I think what you're going to say for your best, Mass, I think I already might have an idea. Shall we move on to best TV that we've seen in the last year?
Yes.
I did not enjoy Invincible, but I feel like somebody's going to mention it.
Oh, yeah. I never read the comics, really enjoyed it. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think that one and Midnight Mass were my kind of two kind of tied for best. Outside of the Marvel category, of course, 'cause I feel like that's its own separate, unique thing. In terms of shows that I really, really enjoyed, yeah. I spent a lot this year, though, rewatching shows as well. Like, watching shows that came out years before that I kind of missed and redoing them. And there's some good ones in there. I mean, there's not necessarily great ones, but some good ones. Like, I'm currently rewatching Designated Survivor. Well, watch it for the first time, which is phenomenal as well. Political drama.
Yeah, it was good though when we were watching it. I did like it.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things. Like I spent a lot this year, but yeah, I definitely say Invincible is up there with. Probably like I think that was the one that had me going week for week, like anticipating what was going to happen because I've got the omnibus somewhere around here, but I read the first omnibus and the fact they changed the ending, and I hope the animation is a little bit stilted at some points, and I completely understand that because they work on the budget. But I feel like at the end of it, if they put more animation work into season 2, it will be a phenomenal and even better show.
Did you not enjoy Ted Lasso as well? Which I've not.
I fucking love Ted Lasso. I don't know if I could talk about that on this podcast because I fucking love it. Ted Lasso was also one of my highlights of the year because I'm a massive football fan. I do love my comics and I love my football, but I also think it was just such a heartwarming show, and it's really nice. And there's bits of it that it just from the horrors that was 2021 and 2020. I'm glad that I had Ted Lasso to get it through me. Get me through it.
Get it through you.
Ted Lasso was the lube that got you through 2021.
Jason today, because
Right
his
up
fantastic mustache got me through.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I heard it's great.
Nah,
Anyway.
Ted Lasso is fantastic. It's definitely worth a watch if you want a show that is really heartwarming and has. It has drama in it and there's some really real world issues, but it also has really endearing characters and some like kind of really chill moments.
I guess it's kind of nice too to see like UK actors kind of given a new limelight.
Yeah.
That who's that guy who does the? I don't know his name. He's like a little guy. He's not a little guy, but he does like the Jurassic. He's the guy he's on panel shows a lot, and he's a comedian. He did the guy who sang the lyrics to the Jurassic Park theme tune.
No,
he's like he's like Ted Lasso's right hand man.
Oh yeah, the small guy, yeah, the glasses.
Voice.
What?
He's kind of got a squeaky voice.
Charlie Day.
No, I'm trying to find him.
No.
No.
I haven't watched much new. I watched the Spectacular Spider-Man like for the second time on Netflix. Just kind of in the lead up to Spider-Man, I was watching an episode of that tonight. That's great, really good action.
Chris, what was your best TV of 2021?
I'm the kind of same as Massimo. I've been like watching really shows I've not seen. Like, this is going to sound so bad, but I've recently started watching New Girl.
Oh.
I kept watching. I watched How I Met Your Mother at least twice. I had 2 watches of How I Met Your Mother at least twice during this year. It was not a good.
Trust
You
me,
watched
it is.
How I Met Your Mother twice.
What? It's only like 10 seasons.
7 seasons. Yeah,
That's
just
insane.
Wow.
That's crazy.
You watched the entire show twice this year.
So going through it from I had counted as like
Time.
the end of 2020 going into 2021, and then in the middle of 2021 going like
We watched.
out.
That's a lot of time.
Do you watch that many episodes of fucking
I just
the
I,
worst
like
character Ted? I fucking hate Ted. I hated him when I watched the first. Even the thought.
I just put it on in the background, and the 20-minute episodes. I put it on in the background while I was doing work, while I was doing fucking laundry. In the background.
You've broken.
Fully, I did. I
Ted
watched it about
Mosby.
twice.
Prick.
Shit bag.
Oh man.
Yeah, fully though. Yeah, I watched that show probably. Yeah.
I loved it. Up until like season 4, I kind of just fell out of it and never went back to it. Me and my friends even recreated we all liked it so much that we recreated the. Maybe we could put it at the end of the podcast, but it's like we actually recreated the intro. We just
No.
that song isn't as good when you hear the full song. It's like
Really?
apparently I think it's the writers of the show, but it's just when you hear it's like any show if it's used for the intro, you're like, oh, that sounds great, and then you listen to the full song, you're like, oh, maybe not.
Jared, what was the best? Sorry, the best, right? We're doing the best. Yeah, what's the best stuff?
I think for me, probably Midnight Mass. Like I kind of I've already shot the load on what I considered my best shows. Again, I don't really watch I find it very hard to get invested in a show. So if I'm not liking it after an episode or 2, I'll drop it. And I very rarely watch a show to completion if I don't like it.
Have you seen any of Mike Flanagan's other stuff, like
I tried to get the chronological, the haunting of the house.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to Midnight Mass, but I'm very touch and go with Mike Flanagan.
I love Mike Flanagan.
I love Gerald's Game. I love that film. I think it's a phenomenal modern horror film. And I love the Doctor Sleep, the sequel to.
I think that film was great.
Yeah.
Released that this year.
I cannot stand The Haunting of Bly Manor Hill House. I think that show
That's
just
one with the family.
I enjoyed Bly Manor more than Hill House.
I did too. I didn't particularly enjoy it either, but I enjoyed the second series. The first one, see that scare in the car where they're having an argument, and she comes to the stage, and it's literally just, and that's not horror. That's just a loud noise.
I think you said that, and then I tried to watch it after watching Midnight Mass, and I got that sense the ghost would just be there, and then they're like, oh yeah,
there's
so
no reason for it, and then they cut back, and then they don't even discuss that a ghost was just in the back seat. It's like, what is this shite? I hated that show.
I'm quite excited for Fall of the House of Usher, which is his next one, that is based on the Edgar Allan Poe short story.
Yeah.
that looks like fucking pure gothic horror and all that. Like, I'm quite excited to see what he does that, because I think he's kind of skirted around it with like Midnight Mass and also Haunt of Bly Manor, but I feel like this will be his proper go at like pure kind of gothic.
I'm such a wimp when it comes to like supernatural horror, like ghosty horror.
Yeah.
You're better than you used to be.
I am humongous. Like, we watched that comedy TV show Ghosts.
No,
what is it called?
the one with Nick Frost.
Oh, Ghost Hunters or whatever it is.
Aye.
And I got scared. So, like, he only had to watch Bly Manor and Hill House because I was too scared to watch it myself.
Yeah, she won't watch it herself, so that's why I need to sit through
So
it.
you had to sit through, because I really liked it, but I was not watching that on my own. Because then that mad floaty guy's following me to my bed, and I'm running to the bathroom in my bedroom with the light off.
So she's sitting next to me with a cushion in front of her eyes, and I'm just going,
pocket.
It's going to be a jump scare in 3, 2, 1, and then a jump scare happened, but I was still like,
and then she still got a fight. I'm like, how did you not see that coming?
And like, we still lived with my mum at the time, and she was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. What was the best TV that you watched in 2021?
I think best TV I would have to give to WandaVision, because I loved it so much. It's probably the thing that I cried the most at.
Oh, really?
This year.
You cry a lot, so
I cry a lot. But I like that final episode where everything's disappearing and she's saying goodbye, and I was a mess.
Yeah, you were.
That was a bit emotional.
I was a state. But what I'm also really enjoying at the moment, because it's a kind of 21/2022 show, because it's carried on into this year, is the reboot for Sex and the City.
Oh, just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And just like that.
So
I'm enjoying
I grew up with like Sex and the City, like through like teenage years rewatching it, and I remember the movies coming out. The movies were my kind of first window into it. I know my big sister was really into it because she was of the era that could watch it because I wasn't allowed. But no, I feel like I was worried because again I was like, it's not broke, don't fix it. And especially with Kim Cattrall not coming back in, I was like, is it needed? Do they need to do it? But it's fun. It's sad. It's touching.
The reviews in general have been decent.
It's really nice. And it's just a good laugh. And like it's good to see them coming from kind of the stage of life that I'm at just now, into like the stage of life where like my mum's at just now. And how they're tackling the kind of changes in society. And of course you've got Cynthia Nixon in it, who I think should run for president, but she's got a real handle on it.
Look at Dan's face. It's just...
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Listen, the last time we hired somebody for the entertainment industry to be president,
that's what I'm saying. Good. She
didn't go well the last time. Let's maybe not do that again.
She was running for mayor of New York. I think she should have got that. She is a real advocate for a lot of different groups in society, and I think the way that they're handling different things in the show is really, really well done.
I think it's tradition now that we mention Mr. Sunday Movies in every podcast, but his other, as he says, his less successful podcast with his wife is called Suggestible, and they're doing a spin-off of that, which is called Suggestible in the City, and they're just, episode by episode recaps. And I've no interest in watching the show, but I just, I love all that Mr. Sunday Movies crew, and especially him and his wife, they're hilarious together. So I've just been listening to the recaps of it. I just find it interesting to, I don't know, maybe I'll watch it, but I guess I'm spoiling everything, but it's not much to spoil. But it's just, it sounds interesting, just what they're doing with it. I was of the age where Sex and the City was on, so it was the only thing that had a bit of sex talk in it, and it was, there wasn't much the shows to watch, so I watched quite a lot of it when I was younger. And it was, I guess I enjoyed it at the time. I'd be interested to see how I don't know, the second film was really bad.
It wasn't great.
So I think that I've heard that there was apprehension about this show coming back. But
they're definitely redeeming themselves with a new TV show from what they kind of done with it. I mean, and I didn't hate, like, the second film wasn't great, but it was still a good laugh. Like, it was fine. But yeah, the first film was brilliant. The first film was entirely necessary, really justified its existence, was so funny, took you a whole new kind of level of understanding them as characters, and then the second one was just, here's some sex jokes and sex on TV.
Which character do you see yourself as?
Definitely Carrie. And I know that's a massive compliment to myself, and I'm probably not, but...
What? Right, there's a question. There's 4 in Sex and the City. What are we?
Oh, wow.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Go,
I know what I think I am, but I don't know.
I'm trying to remember the fucking archetypes. Hang on, give us a second.
I've never watched it, so I don't know.
I used to when I was younger.
That's such a Carrie thing to say.
Oh, okay, this is going to be fun. I'd maybe say, Mass, I think, might be Charlotte.
Is Charlotte the kind of uppity one?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's Italian.
Oh, thanks.
You might be hot, actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you're a posh boy. Yeah, okay, you're Charlotte.
Okay.
Massimo could be Carrie.
So Massimo's
Massimo could be Carrie.
The strong-headed one, the kind of independent woman out of us all. You think that's Massimo?
Sure, we'll go with that.
No, there's the horny one.
We'll give Samantha to Chrissy,
yeah,
I think.
that's the horny one. Right? Yeah.
Samantha.
Samantha to Chrissy.
Samantha, okay.
And then I think you would be Miranda, Jerd.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's just because not just because I'm ginger, but that's what I was thinking. Miranda, really.
It helps.
From my understanding of those characters, I'm probably a Miranda.
That was good.
Okay.
Well, that's a thumbnail for this episode. Is just.
That's amazing. Oh, okay, I'll be back. That's fine. No, don't make me Mr. Big with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Put our heads up. Put an extra character
in the movie. That's fine.
So
just have Courtney's head behind us all, just like looming over us.
So I watched a bunch in 2021. I mean, this one seems a bit redundant to say because it is the 15th series of a show, but It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was slowly losing its touch. It was losing its magic a wee bit. They were doing like their 13 episode seasons, and there was maybe about 5 out of 13 that were brilliant, and there was about 7 that were kind of Do you know what I mean? And it was kind of starting to go, is this even worth doing at this point? The last season there, they put out just before Christmas. They put out across 4 weeks, 2 episodes a week, 8 episodes, and it felt so much tighter. The writing was better. They were so much kind of. It really reminded me of the old days of Always Sunny, where they were all into it, and their timing was just spot on. And it was hilarious. The first half of the season was really like old Always Sunny, like classic Always Sunny. They touched I love how clever they are with breaking the fourth wall, but also it's so stupid at the same time. Like they've done a recap of 2020, and it turns out that Charlie and Dee were making faux fur costumes, so they ended up making the costume for the guy that stormed the Capitol building wearing the president's head.
No way.
Frank was selling cheap hair dye made with Chinese motor oil, which is why Rudy Giuliani was sweating hair dye. Like they tied everything into like the last year. It was amazing. It was so clever. Then the next episode, they basically took the piss out of how their old episodes that have got blackface in them got taken off of Hulu. Well. And Always Sunny, they remade the Lethal Weapon movies, which meant one of them was playing Danny Glover. So the episode opens and they're like, I can't believe they took those scenes out, and they're like, are they talking about Hulu? And then you get to the point that no, they actually stocked their version of Lethal Weapon in a local video shop, and then they took them off the shelf because they were racist. So it was just the parallels between what really happened and what happened to the characters. It was just so funny and so clever the way they did it. And then the second half of the season, they go to Ireland, and the last 4 episodes are spent in Ireland, and that's just hilarious stuff as well. And again, like Always Sunny has been doing recently, and the best thing about last season was how they handled Mac, who slowly but surely over the series might have been gay and in the closet, and they kind of took the piss out of that, and there was a lot of gay jokes early on. And then they kind of started to take it more seriously, and then they had like a proper coming out dance sequence at the end of the last season.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so, like, it felt somewhat out of place for Always Sunny, but also so powerful. And this season they have Charlie breaking down because he doesn't really know who his dad is. And again, it's always been a joke. Is Frank Reynolds' dad, or is in this season there's the character that from Ireland that might be his dad,
Shelley Kelly,
Brendan Beanie.
Yeah, they kind of, again, it's always been a joke. And then there's a scene in the last episode that Charlie has a breakdown in the rain crying because he doesn't know who his dad is, and it's really it's like an Oscar performance to Charlie Day, and you're like, oh my god, I did not expect to feel things watching Always Sunny. So, it was a phenomenal series. In terms of new stuff, and I'm hesitant to call this a new thing because it's from 1969, but the Get Back documentary that Peter Jackson did. It's a new documentary, right? It's old footage. It's a new documentary, right? From something that happened years ago.
1 minute, hang on. Hang on a minute.
I wonder why you're hesitant to call something 50 years old?
50 years, yeah.
So Peter Jackson got access to all these old Beatles tapes from the last album that they recorded, Let It Be.
Yes. Sorry.
And it was kind of the brink of the band breaking up, so it's a really interesting period for the Beatles. And it is very in depth. You do kind of need to be a big Beatles fan because it's 3 short films. I say short films; they're all like 2.5 hours long.
It's 3 feature-length films.
Wow.
Films.
Wow.
So yeah, it is like 7.5 hours of footage in total. But if you're a Beatles fanatic,
it's really
gold.
interesting.
It's on Disney, isn't it? It's on Disney
Yeah,
Plus.
it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I might give it a watch out because
and it's 4K restored, and the whole thing about Yoko Ono breaking up the Beatles, she literally just sits on an amp quietly through the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, that's what broke up the Beatles. Like,
and did they not make a film with it?
Yeah, Paul makes a reference to it as well in the show. And to see Paul McCartney just writing Get Back, like they need a song, they need to record a song by a certain time of the day because I've run out of time because they're trying to plan the rooftop gig, obviously the iconic rooftop gig. And Paul's like, right, I need a tune, and he just he's sitting with the bass, strumming his bass, and then he just and he just Get Back just forms on camera.
And you hear him going,
yeah, he's humming there.
And you're like, oh, it's nearly it, but it's not.
Just the way that it just comes to that iconic, riff that you're like, it's so cool that somebody was able to capture that, and it's in this series, and it's
cool.
Great.
I like that.
Yeah, there was other good TV, but those were Always Sunny and the Get Back Beatles documentary were my highlights.
I have an honorable mention. I don't even know if I watched it this year, to be honest with you, but it's just it's a kind of a new show. Well, maybe I didn't, or maybe I did. I don't even know. Wellington Paranormal. It's a spin-off of What We Do in the Shadows, and it's actually 2 cops that are in the film, and it's kind of like X-Files but funny.
Yeah,
and it's very simple.
It's a Taika Waititi film, and it's the TV show off of the film that you made.
Sorry?
Taika, What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah. So
he's talking about Wellington Paranormal, which is a separate spin-off of Taika Waititi.
What We Do in the Shadows show is set in new vampire set in America, but Wellington Paranormal is 2 police officers who I think they're comedians. They appear in the film What We Do in the Shadows, but it's set in Wellington, and it's just very low stakes. Like, there's a ghost in this episode. There's a house of ghosts in this episode. There's other. They don't just deal with vampires; they deal with everything. There's kaiju in one episode, which is pretty funny. But it's just very low stakes, very fun.
I've not heard of that.
It really has a detective-y vibe,
cool.
Small stakes story to it. It's really fun. It's like 3 seasons of it, I think.
Taika had another series out called Reservation Dogs that I've been meaning to watch but haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I imagine that'd be very good.
Do we quickly want to go through comic books? I've only got one for each. Now, to call it the best, I really had ups and downs, but Berserker is a very interesting, dynamic comic. I've been following that issue by issue. It started off as kind of schlocky B-movie fun, starring Keanu Reeves is in it, and the character's based on Keanu Reeves, and he also helped write it. The first issue it felt like a Robert Rodriguez movie. It was very kind of Desperado, Machete, had that kind of vibe to it. Then they did a huge flashback where it was like showing you where he got his powers from in the caveman days, and there was like 3 issues dedicated to that, and I nearly gave up. I was really losing patience, and then eventually brought it back up to the modern day, and now we're getting like Black Ops missions with this immortal soldier, and it's schlocky, over the top, violent fun, but it's solid. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And for the worst, we mentioned Mark Miller a few times. He's got a new book called King of Spies, which just the most crass. I hate it. It's this older kind of. He's very James Bond, right? It's basically what would have happened to James Bond if he'd lived to be, in his 60s or 70s, and now he's regretting all the people he's killed and all the things he's done. But it's still done with a kind of edgy Mark Miller nature, and it's not good. So that's the best and worst books that I've read this year. I don't know if anybody else is getting anything to shout
out. I have one, and I think it was either. I think it started in 2021. I'm fairly certain it did, but Once in Future, which is by Boom Studios, and is written by it's Kieran Gillen. Kieran Gillen, I think his name is, and it's really enjoyable comic. I read the first few volumes of that. I think either started kind of 2020, coming 20, but I read the first few volumes, the first like 20-30 issues of it, I think, well, 20 so issues. But it's really interesting, really good, interesting spin on the Arthur mythos. Really, if you're interested in mythology, so see stuff like the Green Knight and stuff like that, really kind of similar kind of baseline as that does. Obviously not as artsy as an A24 film, but Once in Future is phenomenal. I think it's definitely worth a read. Nice. And the art style is fantastic as well, and it's really fucking funny. It's very, very British in its humour. I believe so.
Was it right you read it was garbage?
I don't think there was anything that was that bad. I think there was stuff that disappointed me.
Right.
More than anything else, and I'm just seeing if I could fucking remember what run it was. But
just want to say, Marvel events, I'm kind of over them. But I didn't.
Yeah.
King in Black. King in Black was all right.
Yeah. Came back was good, but I think there was. Where was it?
The Dark Ages one I heard wasn't great.
I'm enjoying it. I've only read. I think I have a new issue to read. Like, there's only 4 of them out. It's Tom Taylor and it's like messing around with like. I think I don't know. I think he does powers well. Like, so it's a world where there's no electricity, and the superheroes have to kind of combine their powers just to do, like, every town has a telepath so they can communicate. And I just think he is this, like, it's a certain kind of very nerdy thing that I would have always thought about when I was younger. Like, how do they use their powers in certain ways? And it's, I guess in this world, they're using their powers to kind of combat the lack of power or electricity. But other than that, I really just read classics. I don't read an awful lot of new stuff. So I think when you're reading stuff that's supposed to be good. So I don't know what's worst to say.
I think my most disappointing thing was Future State, which I think happened at the start of this year, and I was really disappointed with that because it had so much potential. Because it was spinning out a Doomsday Clock with all the 5G stuff, and I'm one of the people who actually liked Doomsday Clock. I thought it was, although it took ages to come out, I liked it. I liked the introduction of Watchmen at the universe, but the Future State stuff was so annoying because you basically had 50 to 20 issues of stuff that now is no longer canon because they completely scrapped it. Or it might not be, it might be canon, it might not be. So you have 50, 20 issues that people spent, like, it was so disappointing. There was stuff with The Flash, there was stuff with Batman, there was some really good ideas in there, and then because they've decided not to make it canon, or maybe it is canon, I don't know the state of the DC comics universe, kind of just disappointed across the board. Some of it fell flat, some of it worked out, and then to completely scrap it like that was a bit shit.
Yeah. Jerd, what have you read this year that you liked?
As far as, so, like, again, the new stuff, I think it's only Dark Ages I read. Oh, That Texas Blood. The first and nearly the only comic I've reviewed. That I meant to go back to the last couple of issues, but and then sign off, but I never did. Just thought it was fucking great. It's actually got me into. Someone posted a link somewhere because I'd read bits of Criminal before. Obviously, so Jacob Phillips, the son of Sean, the artist on Criminal, and a lot of Ed Brubaker stuff. And sorry, That Texas Blood is then also written by Christopher Condon, an American guy, and Jacob Phillips. But I'd never really read that much. Ed Brubaker stuff. I had read some Criminal, so I found someone posted a link in a group where it's like, it's Humble or something. It's probably over now, but it was a charity thing where if you spent like €22 for me, you can get like 44 of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips books. So I literally just started Criminal Coward there. Other than that, yeah, like I've just been going through Marvel Unlimited, and I have been picking classics. Like I reread Craven's Last Hunt there because Owen Likes Comics was doing a video on it, and I was like, I know the story, but fuck, I'm just gonna read it again before I watch the video. And it just, it gave me a newfound appreciation for it, especially the video, then to reread it. And yeah, I've just been reading classics, and again, if something I'm not liking, something I just won't read it. So I don't really get worse with comics because it takes me time to invest in them.
Yeah, fair enough. Chris, what have you read this year?
I've only read one. I've not read it. I've just kind of picked up and pieced to pieces. I think it's called The Next Batman, but I think it's part of the Future State.
Yeah.
Thing. And it's kind of I think it's Eustace Fox's son who actually plays Batman, so it's an alternative universe.
Yeah.
And it's
well,
Arkham Asylum's decommissioned and shit like that, and they're just.
So that's what I was going to say, Chris. Is it was originally supposed to take place in the future of the DC. That was my issue with Future State, is that a lot of the stuff. So Lucius Fox or the Jason Fox as Batman is a really good part of Future State, but they just completely shut it down because it wouldn't make sense within the canon, I think, anymore.
That's annoying. I mean, they could do the stupid multiverse thing and keep it in there because it was kind of an interesting take. I really thought it was quite interesting.
That multiverse is so hot right now.
Yeah,
I know, it really is. But man, I was starting to get back in. I think it came out in the beginning of the year, maybe.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh okay, I'll get Batman to go again, and then I just kind of was, as Matthew said, it kind of was shut. So you're like, well, why is the point in reading it? If it's not going to get progress. But definitely, it was an interesting take. I loved the costume on him. So
it's a really cool costume. But is that with the weird mask thing?
I was like, why are you blocking his face? But
yeah, well,
he's a black guy.
I know, I can see that.
There's recently that they've redesigned the costume, I think, for that character, and it's now they've got the open mouth, and it says finally you can see Black Batman's actual face. Only took DC about 6 months to have the balls to do it, but they did it eventually. So
I mean, I don't know why you could play it off as it's like a gas mask kind of thing. It prevents any of that shit getting to him. But
I guess Batman Beyond had the whole cool.
Yeah, entire face. Yeah,
that was also a cartoon. Courtney, I know that you've read lots of comics this year. Was there any books you read that you can think of? I'm sure the one that actually reads proper books.
This year I read / am reading both of Robert Graysmith's Zodiac books. So Robert Graysmith is the newspaper illustrator of a newspaper that was covering the Chronicle. Thank you. That was covering the murders of the Zodiac serial killer. He then got. If you've seen the David Fincher film, it's one of the best films ever made in the world.
Fantastic, yeah, it's a good film.
So it's Jake Gyllenhaal's part in the film as the real man, and he gets completely obsessed with trying to figure out who the killer is. He loves puzzles, and the killer famously sends in puzzles to try and bait people into figuring out who he is. So he is infamously known because he was never caught. They think they had a few people who they thought was him. There was a main suspect called Arthur Lee Allen who died when they were on their way to arrest him for the crimes. So the first book is Robert Graysmith basically just kind of covering what you see in the film, really. And it's a really, really interesting read. It's quite a thick book, but it's like a wee pocket book, so it is quite a quick read for me anyway. And just now I am working my way through his second book on the subject, where he basically just totally covers the whole. He was investigating it for about 30 years, going to all the different areas, all the different police districts, everything, covering the whole incident, and speaking to relatives of the victims, speaking to police that were investigating it, everything. So it's really, really interesting, and I'm really enjoying myself just now with it.
Cool. Wow, imagine reading actual books, man. That's weird.
Oh yeah, wow, fucking nerd.
There's no picture. Well, there's pictures in the second one. There's no pictures in the first one, guys.
No.
I tried to start a book club during the pandemic, and I got 2 into it, and it was,
just hard work.
I was like, you know what, I want to get. This was only when I was kind of deciding to get back into comics again properly. I was like, no, I want to read comics because I'll actually read them at least. Like a book is just, I could be dicking away with a book for fucking months before I'd actually finish it, unless it's something that really grabs me from the very start. And I know there's like there's a book about comics which is like all of the Marvels or something.
There's also this book as well by Grant Morrison.
Oh yes,
Super Gods as well, which is also
it's
really
kind of an
good
older
read.
book, isn't it?
Yeah, this one is actually signed by Morrison as
Oh,
well.
that's cool.
No, this was this came out like 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
So it covers up to it does Golden Age, Modern Age, and I think it covers up till tells you here actually.
I didn't know either of them. I kept seeing this meme in the last day. Maybe it's the same meme I'm just seeing over and over again, but it's just like Grant Morrison's head superimposed onto an ant, and it's like Ant Morrison.
Ant Morrison. So it covers basically comics up to the early 2000s, so like post 9/11, pretty much. Which he calls the Renaissance in comics in the book.
Interesting.
The Renaissance.
Okay, I think on that note, thank you for joining us for this very disjointed recap of 2021.
Much like the year itself.
Yeah,
right.
We thought we were recording. We thought the pandemic would be over,
and it wasn't.
Here we go again. Sums
So
up.
what people don't realise is that there's actually 6 months in between the cuts and stuff like that.
That's how we should have done it. Yeah. But yeah, we will be. You'll probably hear this. We'll definitely hear it in 2022 since we're already in 2022. But this podcast will be a 2022 podcast going forward. So for all the stuff that is upcoming that you're excited for, stick around, subscribe, do all that shit. We will be
the
covering
Pop Shock podcast.
We will be covering big things on the Pop Shock podcast. I forgot the name. Thanks, Massimo.
Yep. I thought I'd make sure just to get us
Pop Shock podcast.
The Pop Shock podcast.
Thank you for joining us, folks. Have a nice rest of the day. We've not ate anything, so we're going to go and eat.
Oh yeah, it's good.
And we'll see you next week to discuss something else.
Goodbye, everyone. See you later.
Ta-da! What's the line, Massimo?
See you on the next page.